anybody ever heard of Tony Campolo. He's kind of a non-traditional, traditional speaker, but it was good for me at the time because it was what I needed. He was, you know, kind of fun. I loved to listen to him. He was fun and vibrant and stuff like that, so I listened to all his CDs and tapes and stuff like that. He was a professor at Eastern College, which is a Christian college, and he talked about, he said he loved to go and sit in a class of a friend who was a philosophy instructor. He said because he loved to listen to a brilliant man articulate a stupid idea. Because he said when his friend would go and teach philosophy, he said that all of society's problems started with toilet training. He told us, you know, he said, here is, you know, a 2-year-old or whatever, now society puts on him that he got to do what he got to do where society wants him to do it. So, you know, he sits there and tries, and, you know, his mom says, do it for mommy. And he said, tough kid, you know, he'll say no. And the mom will say, well, then you sit there and you wait until you do it. And they said, the kid tries, he really tries. And finally, he says, he produces the gift that society requires of him. He produces the gift. And then, what does he find out that society does with his gift? Do they honor it? Do they worship it? It's flushed. His gift has no long-term meaning at all. Therefore, post-traumatic stress is born. Society's problems are born. You know, we think about that, and that is totally a stupid idea, but how many times, you know, do we look at all the issues in our life and how they happen when we grew up and our childhood and this and that. Now, you know, there's so many songs out there, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And we sing it and we believe it, and yes, that's true, and Jesus taught us all things work for the good, that he who loves Jesus. However, have you ever thought about society and how, this came up in our class too, is how it appears sometimes that society keeps us in that sick role as far as victimhood and, you know, as far as our traumatic stress and, you know, things like that. It's interesting as far as post-traumatic stress disorder, and, you know, in World War I they called it shock. So when they came back, it was shell shock. Then it was, I forget what they said in World War II, but it was something else. You know, and then now, you know, as far as the Vietnam and everything, when they come back, it was post-traumatic stress disorder. And there's a lot of, it's not only veterans, but it's other people now with the post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's interesting, they have like the whole DSM, you have to have so many criteria to be diagnosed with it, and, you know, it's a label now. People walk around with it as a badge, you know, badge of courage, I have post-traumatic stress disorder. And it is, it's like vibrant. I mean, you know, it's everywhere you look around, it's post-traumatic stress disorder. And you don't see much about post-traumatic growth, when that is the other side of the flip coin. When we talk about keeping people ill, the military actually, once somebody is diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, they get, I think it's about $3,000 a month. Disability. And that will continue until somebody is undiagnosed or able to function again out of the post-traumatic stress. And they did studies on people trying to take them from post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth. And what they found was once people got the diagnosis, 80% of them stopped therapy. You know, or stopped going to the classes to learn how to change that into growth. Because once they have the diagnosis, we encourage that with pain money. And I don't, believe me, don't think that I don't think that people have gone through horrible, horrendous things. You know, but the thing is, what are we doing? What are we doing for people? You know, what are we doing for people? What are we encouraging people to do for themselves? When we think about post-traumatic stress, or anything in our lives, what is it that causes the post-traumatic stress disorder? It's living it over and over and over again in our minds. It's the stories that we tell ourselves. It's holding on to things and reliving that story over and over and over again. And I believe everyone in this room probably has had something that they were able to move from and said, you know, at the time that I was in it, I said, this is the worst thing that could ever happen. I love when you said today, things happen for a reason. You know, but things do happen for a reason. And you know, there's plenty of times when we have moved forward, and you know, we grew from it. We grew from it and realized that what we thought was the worst thing that could happen is now the best thing that could happen in our lives.
Do you want a hand?
Because, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so, you know, it depends on what we take from it. Is it going to be the worst thing that happened to us in our lives, or are we going to change it into growth and change it to the best thing that can happen to us in our lives? In Celebrate Yourself, Eric Butterworth says, it is often written, you are what you think. It is not really accurate, for you are thinking what you think. The secret that is really discovered is the realization that you are not a mind. You have a mind, and the you that has a mind can control the thoughts that pass through the mind. Thought is a creative process, or should be. You can become a creative thinker instead of a reactive thinker. And too many times, when we're in the victimhood, we're a reactor thinker instead of a creative thinker. We react to our victimhood, and we hold on to it because it does become our story. There's all the kinds of different secondary gain that we get from our victim stories, right? We get pity, we get, whatever that financial gain or secondary gain is that we get from our victimhood. So to some extent, we want to hold on to that because that secondary gain is worthwhile. But what is it doing to us? Telling that story over and over and over again. I love what it says, when we tell the story over and over and over again, it vibrates into every cell of our body. And that story of victimhood is stored there. And that's what we become, that victim. Our bodies, our life. There was a story that was written in the Daily Word by Chaz Wesley. He describes being in what we might consider understandable despair about diagnoses of cancer and multiple sclerosis. Then one day something happened. He said, I awakened to the understanding that my present experience was a response to the weary old story I had been telling myself. In giving my focused attention to illness, I told its story over and over and over again, to everyone within range of my voice, to myself, and ultimately to every cell in my body. He goes on about the shift happening. My body's ability to heal came from knowing it was possible to heal and giving it permission to do so. In that moment of awakening, I understood that my energy was flowing where my attention was going. How much of our current experience is the result of the story we are telling ourselves and others? Charles Fillmore and Eric Butterworth might say it's 100%. And I believe Jesus would say it's 100% also. It's 100% of our story. Jesus said, I have overcome the world. And he said, everything will make you stronger. It just depends on what you do with it. All things work out for the good, for those who love God and that know that it does. But it's a matter of what do we do with it? What story are we telling ourselves? I like this story about Edwina Gaines is a Unity writer, and she wrote the 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. And I love what she writes about getting out of her victimhood. She said, I will be eternally grateful for a teacher who one day abruptly called me on my act. And she was physically abused as a child, I think physically and sexually abused as a child. As I once again began my tale of woe, he said, listen, Toots, this victim stuff has gone too far. It's really a drag and it's boring the tears out of the rest of us. I was shocked. He had not given me the poor me response that I had come to expect. As I gasped, he continued, in order to heal this childhood trauma, what you've got to do is to create a new story about it. He paused and gave it some thought. Okay, here's your new story. You came on the planet to be a woman of power. Your soul chooses this path. And because you choose it, you also choose to take an initiation in the misuse of power at a very young age. During this initiation, you learned what it feels like when power is misused, and it is horrible. Therefore, it is now safe for you to be a woman of power in the world because you know that you would never misuse or abuse this power. And in the process, you have gained the most valuable of all spiritual gifts, the understanding heart. Edwina writes, my world reeled from this and cracked open a bit. It hadn't happened overnight, but little by little, one day at a time, I began to embrace this wonderful new story. A saga that completely reordered my personal history. It made me feel powerful rather than helpless, and allowed me to give up my role of victim. I thought that was really cool how he took that and helped her turn that story around. And what happens to so many people who take that post-traumatic stress disorder story and change it around to post-traumatic growth? Growth happens. Growth happens. Transformation. Incredible transformation. You know, people have a renewed spiritual awareness. They know that they're here for a purpose. And they know that whatever happened to them in that life goes along with that purpose that they're here for. And they start using it. Just like her, she used that then to become a woman of power. You know, they find renewed relationships with people around them. When they start realizing that it's a new story, they can see people who support them. They can see people in a different way. They can accept people in a different way. They can accept their help, not their pity, not their, keeping them in a victimhood. They establish a brand new path in life. You know, how many times do we have the things, and I know when I ended up in rehab and it was like, this is the worst thing that could happen, I wouldn't be here if it wouldn't be for that. You know, that started the chain of events that got me here to this point. And I realized I would not be here if it wouldn't be for that. You know, so it's something, what is the worst thing that could happen in life becomes the best thing that could happen. But it's a matter of what we make of it and how we move forward. New opportunities become available that would never have been available once we're staying stuck in our victimhood. You know, if we want to see the new opportunities, we change our story and then all of a sudden they pop open. We put more effort into our relationships. And most of all, we discover how strong and powerful we truly are. With Christ, we can do all things that strengthen us. And once we realize that, how powerful we are, we know that we can overcome anything. And that post-traumatic stress disorder doesn't have any power over us anymore. Because truly, all the circumstances that we give power to keep us in our victimhood, we're giving our power away. And once we start taking that power back, we realize that we have all the power in the universe, that's given to us. We come to the realization that, as AA always says, God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. We come to the realization that if we let go of our victimhood, we begin to see the gift in it. Within every situation, there's a gift. But we have to let go of the victimhood, we have to let go of the hurt to move forward and find that gift. And sometimes that doesn't happen all at once. Don't think that I'm saying, something happens, okay, tomorrow you gotta get over it. We have to grieve. Buck up, buddy, get over it. We gotta grieve, we gotta go through everything that we have to go through. And that's okay. But it's a matter of how long do we choose to be there. Because after we go through the process, it is our choice to stay stuck there, or our choice to move. I like the story about the acorn. It says, if you want to understand adversity, take two identical acorns from the same oak tree and plant them in two different locations. Plant the first in the middle of a dense forest and the other on a hill by itself. Here's what will happen. The oak standing on the hillside is exposed to every storm and gale. As a result, its roots plunge deep into the earth and spread out in every direction, even wrapping themselves around great boulders. At times it may seem the tree isn't growing fast enough, but the growth is happening underground. It's as if the roots know that they must protect the tree from the threatening elements. What about the acorn planted in the forest? It becomes weak, frail sapling having to compete with great oaks for nutrients and space. And since it is protected by its neighbors, the little oak doesn't sense the need to spread its roots for support. Don't be afraid of adversity. Welcome it. There's your surefire route to ultimate success. You know, a lot of times we try to stay away from anything that might hurt, anything that might cause us pain, anything that might make us feel like a victim, anything that might, you know, we might not excel in or whatever. You know, anything that could cause us post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, we want to stay away from it without realizing that once we embrace that, that's something that can make us stronger than ever. You know, I do believe that we were put here for a purpose. You know, we're put here to grow spiritually, to evolve, to help each other on our path, you know, to help each other grow and evolve. And the only way that we can do that is stepping out of our comfort zone, stepping past our past, stepping out of our story, the story that keeps us stuck wherever we're stuck at. And if we have stepped out of the story, that's great. Embrace it, use it, share it. You know, and a lot of people in here have already done that. But, you know, I think there's parts in everybody's life, you know, and mine included, that there's something that we want to hold on to. It's something that we want to hold on to because it's a lot easier blaming somebody else than taking the responsibility to move forward. You know, and to realize it's the story that I'm telling myself. As long as I tell myself that story, I'm going to be that story. So, you know, I invite everyone to take time today to think about any story that they're stuck in and see how you can rewrite that story. Rewrite that story to be something very powerful, you know, very enlightening, very energizing, inspiring. Because that's what we're called to do, is rewrite that story. You know, I'm not worried about the potty training, you know, but rewrite that story. Whatever happened to us, did happen to us for a reason. And it's a matter of how we take that now and move forward. Any comments?
On one of the Tuesday evenings, you had taught us something that I thought would fit. And that is, if you want to change the past, change the way you look at it.
Exactly, exactly. And you know what, and I'm glad that you brought that point up, because you know, we say we can change the future, but we have no influence over the past. However, think about it. If we change our thoughts about the past does change, because the influence that it has on us changes. Thank you for bringing that up. Bob, did you want to say something?
That's a good point you made. What I see, from my perspective, everybody can get mad at me. You just sat here and dwelled on all those negative things. That's my opinion. And what he said, change what we see. That's where I think the teaching needs to go. Totally forget all that and just totally focus on where we're heading all the time. Now, I understand what your lesson is, and it was valuable, but we've been teaching that lesson for a long time. It's time to move on to where we want to go. My opinion. I'll talk to you about this later in more detail.
Thank you.
I think it's actually appreciating. The whole thing is all about appreciating, you know, where not only where we are and where we're going, but where we've been, and seeing how it can make us better, and it can make us more godly and more in the God spirit and God mind.
Yeah, yeah. It's bringing, you know, and I think it's bringing it all together. It's bringing it all together, because everything is, you know, you can't deny or whatever. It's bringing it all together and using what we have to move forward. And yes, it is about moving forward, but it's about using also what we have to move forward.
I think we have to keep focusing where are we going, but it's hard to do that if we don't know where we at this moment. So just like the GPS, I want to go to whatever. First you have to know where you're at. So if we live in this moment, which is now and forever is going to be now, I guess that's the easiest way to get wherever we're going to go. Because if we keep on dwelling on the past, not use it just as a teacher, as a way to know what not to do again,
Yep,
and use it in this moment. The future is built right now.
yep.
It doesn't exist, and it will never exist.
Yep.
It's just now.
And we are, you know, and we're a combination of everything from the past. We're, you know, our minds and stuff like that are a combination, but to know where you are, GPS doesn't say, where did you come from? It says,
Yeah.
where are you now, and where do you wanna go? Yeah,
Do you think a lot of our mistakes from the past, it is because we choose our free will? Like sometimes, I mean, we do have a free will, right? To go, you know, we choose to, sometimes, you know, we think that's the easy way to go back, you know, mistakenly, that's the easy way to go, and then we go for it, and then the reality, the short road, it's not the easy way, it's, you know, it's gonna bring, we do not think at the moment. You think, you know, and then puts us in that position, okay, that's your choice back in that, so that's, you choose the free will, so now you have to know how to deal with that, because the free will puts you in the next step. In the next step, there is the A and there is the B. So now it depends how you look at the whole situation, and then you're gonna be more wise how you're gonna go to that directions. And sometimes because you choose the free will, it's your choice, so you must accept that mistake, and that mistake may put you into directions. In that directions, is really gonna make you go downhill, or it's really gonna bring you to the, you know, to the growth you wanna go for. You know what I mean?
knowing it, and, you know the truth, and your truth shall set you free, and the truth is, nothing has power, the only power that something has is the power that I give it. The only power that something has over me is the power that I give it.
Because sometimes, I mean, you have to go to that step to go to the next step. You cannot jump 2 steps to go forward.
Right.
And that's what we wanted to do many times. You know, I don't want to go to the challenge. I don't want to go to the jumps in the challenge. I don't go straight there. I want to stay there already.
Yeah.
You know, but that it doesn't work in that way. It's never easy. It's never the straight road, because, you know, it can be straight for a certain time period of in your life, but there's something that's gonna crash. It always does, because you must learn the lesson. You're not here for not to learn the lesson. You have something to learn. You know what I mean?
So you're saying, if you don't learn it now, don't worry, because it'll keep coming back. You're gonna learn it sometime. Right? You know, if you don't learn
come
it now,
back.
you keep.
It's a circle. You will come back. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you do. It's just like, okay, example, when we become a parents, right? I mean, I don't want to be just like my mother. Guess what? I am being just like my mother, because,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Certain
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
I am like my mother.
Yeah.
So, now you have to accept, so you have to go back and to see, oh, that's what she meant back in that. And I did not want to accept it. Now I am being just like it. My kids does not want it. They do not want to accept. You know what I mean? So that's gonna come back to them. Because if they don't learn, you know, if you do not learn that,
You're putting attention on it right now.
it's
That's
come
right.
back to
That's
you,
my argument.
right?
And piggybacking on what Bob said and what she said,
Unless
you can hear something 300, 400, 500 times, but depending on where you're at, like I've heard the things you've said before, Nancy, but where I was in my life, I wasn't open to it.
Right.
So today when I hear you, I may have heard it 4,000 times, but I am so extremely more open to it today than I was to it
Yeah.
10, 5. So your relatability, your stories, the way you preach is amazing. I love you so much. And so
Thank you.
it's awesome. Even though I may have heard these things, they're affecting me in a different way today.
Awesome, thank you.
Sometimes we may need to hear it more, because somebody may get it and somebody else may not get it. And sometimes we repeat things because we're comfortable with that, because that's what we know. So even though it's not working, and you may try and hear somebody the right way, but you know, everybody has a different lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And some of us need to hear it 4 or 5 times over and over and over again. Until we get it. Some of us may not get it,
Yeah.
but, you know, that may be their lesson. We don't know, everybody's lesson is different,
The knowing.
and everybody's on a different path, so.
Yes, some they have the challenge, the difficulty challenging others, but guess what? We choose, we pick that challenge, right? If you
Yeah.
pick it, if you have that hard challenge, it is because, A, before we came in here, you're smart, why did you get that then? And then I'll deal with over here, because we pick that challenge to deal with. So next lifetime, I'm gonna pick an easy one.
Yeah, we hope we remember.
Still
Go ahead,
learning.
Mark. Mark.
Okay, you said you think that we were put here.
Well, okay, we choose to take, we choose, yeah, we not only choose to, you choose to come.
I would
Yeah.
say you choose to
Yeah.
come with a purpose.
Right, I did say that wrong, yeah,
No, I'm
yeah,
not correcting you,
Yeah.
it's just a different point of view.
yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people think that.
And I agree 100% that we chose to come. And I do believe that we chose to come to learn, you know, learn whatever. So, you know, and I like the way he redid this for her, you know, is to say, you came for a reason, and because of this, this is what you know, what you chose to experience, to grow. You know, once we look at that and say, you know, I chose this to experience this for some reason, you know, now what is it, you know, so.
Man, Gloria has shown that she has changed her reality by changing her inside. The outside has changed. So that is proven back to her that she has changed.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
it's all the reflection back, yeah,
Yep.
definitely, it's a total reflection back.
So we hear this, teachings of yours is,
Yeah.
I agree, I love it too. Because most of the time we hear it and we understand, but we don't know.
Take it from
Now,
here to here.
when you know, that's the moment that, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you want one last thing?
Going back to what Gloria and Diane said, you can elaborate on this because you're familiar with Tony Robbins' work. First of all, I agree that sometimes you have to hear it several times from several different directions before it resonates. I know that's happened with me. From the more of a psychological standpoint, Tony Robbins teaches us that people do things for one of 2 reasons. You may have made that change because it became too painful to be the old you. People do things for one of 2 reasons: to attain pleasure and to avoid pain. And they'll do more to avoid pain. So maybe, just maybe, it became too painful for you to stay where you were. Just something.
And who knows what gets you to that point too. So,
There's several messages from several different directions.
all righty, we'll take these thoughts into meditation. So I invite you to get comfortable in your chairs. Feel the floor supporting your feet, the chair supporting your body. Feel the energy in the room. Feel the sound of the music. Feel the stillness in your heart. And I ask you to go deep, deep within that place. That silent place. gratitude for everything that it has provided for you. Everything that you can use to move forward into the future. For new opportunity, for new strength, for new vitality, for new inspiration. As you feel the shift, I invite you to hold on to this. Knowing that any time you can change the story and therefore change your life. Hold on to the knowing that the truth will set you free. And all things do work out for the